Namaskar. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. We are very honored we have very special guest, Narendra Pal Gangwar sir, Additional Secretary MFCC to have with us. May I request all the distinguished delegates to give them a big round of applause to welcome sir. Thank you very much sir for taking your valuable time to having with us. Before taking much, yeah. So to start with that, we would like to once again, yeah, so please. Once again, a very warm welcome to all the distinguished guests of the today's session, Sri Narendra Pal Gangwar sir, Additional Secretary MOFCC. May I also request Sri Dr. Sandeep Chatterjee, who is going to moderate these sessions. Please be on the dais, sir. Dr. Ashok Kumar, Vice Chairman, Greenscape Eco Management Private Limited. Dr. Ajay Kausal, Scientist, CMAT, Maiti, Government of India. Mr. Guha Jairam, Managing Director, Terra Nova Eco Management. And Mr. Praveen Bhargava, Managing Founder and Director, Pegasus Waste Management Private Limited. And Srimati Sunita Verma, Group Coordinator, R&D in Electronics, Maiti, Government of India. So once again, we welcome all our distinguished guests and the panelists, along with the attending delegates, for attending this session on the e-waste recycling driving factors to achieve the India's Vision 2070. And with this, I would request Dr. Sandeep Chatterjee, who is going to moderate the session. Dr. Sandeep Chatterjee is a leading global policymaker and experienced techno-administrator with over 30 years of experience in translating research outcomes into commercial viability and disrupting policy making. With this, I'm just handing over to Dr. Sandeep Chatterjee to moderate this session. Thank you so much, sir.
Thank you, Bhojji. Before starting this session, is one of the important session for our country. We'll be discussing this subject matters. It is getting popular for last 1 decade, I should say. And with the introduction of economic push through our digital technology, so with last 1 decade, we have seen how our country is revolutionized through digital public infrastructure, through Aadhaar enabling like 1,400 million Aadhaar enrollment biometric data. We have seen how it is revolutionized the fintech through UPI. There are 600 banks are now onboarded to unified payment interface. So economy is growing, and very recently we are pushing the artificial intelligence. All the IT services will be transferring through this disruptive technology. So we will be dated our electronics very fast. So it is not choice to us that we will be using electronics, old electronics. We keep on changing our device. This subject, that is why is so important now, how to manage the electronics, how to use the used electronics for refurbishment, and finally the e-waste recycling. Before starting my session, I'll be requesting now our Additional Secretary from Ministry of Environment and Forest, Sri Naresh Pal Gangwar sir, for giving his opening remark and keynote address. After that, I'll be initiating this segment. Dr. Gangwar sir.
Very good morning to all of you. First of all, I would like to thank MRAI for organizing and inviting me for this International Material Recycling Conference. and also congratulate you for putting this very good conference in Jaipur. It's always a pleasure to come to Jaipur because this has been my Karma Bhumi for several years. So before going to Government of India, I have worked around for 26 years in Jaipur as part of state government. Electronics and electrical sector is very important sector from resource efficiency point of view. As has been pointed out, the way our economy is growing and the way purchasing power of people is increasing, the use of electronic and electrical equipment is increasing manifold. Even now, we as a country are third largest generator of electronic waste. And if we are aspiring to become Viksit Bharat by 2047, our use of electrical and electronic in our day-to-day life and in the service delivery is going to increase manifold. We all know that waste on one hand is a environmental challenge, but if it is managed properly, then it can become wealth. And that holds very, very true in case of electrical and electronic waste. I think you all are aware, you all belong to the industry. You know that how much value can be extracted and how many materials can be extracted from electrical and electronic waste. And recycling industry as such in India is running in two broad categories. One is that which is running in formal sector, which interacts with government and its institutions. The other is a huge presence of informal sector. And the problem with informal sector is that it is neither doing it efficiently or nor it is able to do it in an environmentally sound manner. So it is causing problem on the both front. The efficiency of material recovery is not as good as it should be based on the best available technologies, but it is kind of creating problems with the environment also. So in the Ministry of Environment, which is primarily responsible for regulatory aspect of environmental issues, we started working on extended producer responsibility regime for electrical and electronic products. This is very long. But I think before 2022, the focus was primarily on collection of waste and somehow taking it for kind of, you can say, disposal in some manner or the other. The focus on recovery of material was there, but not that much. And that is why the kind of industry which was expected to grow in electronic and electrical waste sector, that could not happen at that kind of pace which was actually expected from it. So mostly recycling of electrical and electronic waste, could led to mostly dismantling and recovery of the primary kind of material which can easily recover, but the PCB processing, where the actual precious and semi-precious material recovery lies, that did not happen at that pace and it could not grow also at that pace. So I think two and a half years back, we changed the strategy and we started focusing on the recovery of material. And the EPR regime, which was earlier focusing and giving mandate to the producer for collection and, and giving it to the dismantlers and then after dismantling, sending it elsewhere for extraction of material, we started giving mandate for recovery of material. And we started with 4 material, you are all aware about that. So present focus is on iron, copper, aluminium, and gold. Gold is extracted from the PCBs. Rest of the materials are extracted from other components of electrical and electronic goods. And this is just the beginning of the exercise, because we are creating mandate for producers, and we are expecting that recycling industry will match to the demand which is created on account of the mandate given to the producer. And also, as we keep giving mandate and be broadening, we are deepening that mandate, as well as we are horizontally, broadening. We will be broadening that mandate also, including more and more metal in the EPR regime. So, but we are waiting for recycling industry to respond to recovery of those materials, because mandate can be given to the producer only when there is a facility to produce those materials. So there is a huge responsibility on the recycling industry in electrical and electronic sector. They not only will have to improve their technologies to match the recovery efficiencies elsewhere, and also they will have to, cover more and more material, recover more and more material, so that we can bring in those mandates on the producers, and we can recover all the valuable materials from the PCBs. This is very important from circular economy point of view also, because these are the materials which are not available in abundance in our country. And in case of many materials, we are dependent on import of those materials. So that is a net, foreign exchange outgo for us. And also, even if we are not dependent on imports, so if we are not recovering these materials, then we are basically going for extraction of virgin materials, so which is again increasing pressure on resources. And as our economy is growing, the demand for resources will increase manifold. And then pressure on these virgin material will increase, and we will reach a point where the extraction of resources alone will not be able to fulfill that demand. That is where this recovery of material becomes very important. And it is, I think, at a very right point in time, our Honorable Prime Minister has given this call to all for moving away from linear economy approaches and going for the circular economy approaches. And Government of India since last few years have been focusing on that. We have a lot of policies lined up. Almost in all and every speech of Honorable Prime Minister, circular economy and recycling is finding a place. That shows how important it is for the nation, not only for today, but our future vision of Viksit Bharat 2047. So I would just like to appeal the industry that please see this opportunity coming. Prepare yourself to encash this opportunity which is being put forth and which is being thrown on you, and also live to the expectations which are there from the industry by growing your capacities and also improving your technologies to match the quality of material which you produce with the rest of the world. So with this, I would end my opening remarks. I wish this conference and session a very best of luck, and I hope as an outcome of this session, we will certainly get some insight into, and we will be able to evolve a kind of roadmap which we should be following if we really want to actually match the kind of demands which are going to come in times to come. Thank you, MRAI, and thank you all for inviting me here. It is always a pleasure. It is my home, and it is always a pleasure to be with you. And we keep interacting. In past also we have been interacting, and we have done so many things together. Government is always behind each of you. All the genuine issues which you raise to the government, we will certainly respond to this. This is a priority. That is why a representative from Ministry of Electronics and Electrical Industry is here. I am here, and we all are here to support you. But ultimately, certain things have to be done by the industry, but we are there to support you. Thank you.
Thank you, Kamgar sir. Now I'll be requesting Srimati Sunita Verma, from Group Coordinator, Scientist G, from Ministry of Electronics and IT, spearheading this entire circular economy and for opening remark. Madam.
Good morning to everyone. The dignitaries on the dais, Shri Narendra Gangwar, Additional Secretary, MOEFCC, Dr. Sandeep Chatterjee, MRAI Advisor, and Dr. Ashok Kumar, Chairman of Green Space Eco Management, and all the other dignitaries, our recycling industry and manufacturers. First of all, I would like to thank the MRAI Association for inviting me and making me participate in this International Materials Recycling Conference. Circular economy is the new mantra for the future development and growth. As Gangwar sir has said, that both the ministries are looking at circular economy in e-waste. With the spurt of Digital India and with after the COVID, the spurt of use of digital devices, electronic devices, the type of measures that are being taken for recycling and for circular economy have to be brought to that scale or to that percentage of growth. And I feel the emphasis is on taking forward the missions of circular economy in the full earnest. As you are aware, the electronic waste is a global challenge, and India is also facing a challenge due to the rapid technology use and also the fast disposal of electronic gadgets. We see that India is the fastest growing economy. We have about 60% or 66% of the young population who are below the age of 35, and they are all using electronic gadgets and devices. Out of necessity, out of curiosity, and out of their to be equal to their peers. And when we see the electronic gadgets like mobiles, laptops, tablets, these are being replaced in around 3 years by, and on an average by an Indian user. So India being the third largest e-waste producer with about 4.17 million metric tons of e-waste generated in 2022. And it is rapidly growing at a pace of about 18% of per year, per annum. So this is a matter of critical importance and concern that the recycling and circular economy is being looked at with different solutions. So while MOEFCC is looking at the regulations and the various schemes, Ministry of Electronics and IT is looking at the technology development, the training, skilling, and the awareness part of the e-waste. And we see that there are around 30 critical minerals which have been identified by the Ministry of Mines. And these critical minerals, out of them, a lot of them can be sourced from the secondary raw material or from the e-waste that is being generated from our PCBs, from our electronics and electrical products. And the major challenge that we see is in the lack of recycling facility and infrastructure, which is dominated by the informal sector. And this is the major problem which is there in the country. And both the ministries together, we are trying to take up this challenge and bring more and more informal sector into the ambit of formal e-waste recycling. About 85% of the e-waste is recycled in the informal sector, and that also using some technologies which lack the knowledge and the skill sets which are required. And also there are very unscientific methods used, and the ill effect of on the health of the people of the people who are recycling is also a matter of concern. We can see that with all these concerns together, MeitY has been trying to bring out schemes, policies, and different programs for developing R&D capabilities in the skilling as well as awareness. Niti Aayog had formulated an action plan in the implementation of circular economy, and we have come out with the program for recycling, segregation, and collection, recycling, and segregation of PCBs. Ministry has also developed technologies along with CMET for PCB recycling, extraction of various metals, silver, gold, copper, palladium. Also, we have recycling for solar panels, then for plastics. Also, the spent magnet. So these technologies are there not only for extraction with an efficiency, but also with the different machines are being also developed, which are very cost effective to develop the complete ecosystem for startups at a very low cost. We also have dismantling segregation facilities which have been set up at NILED, Gantok, and different other centers for training and for skilling of the e-waste recyclers. We have started some courses, MTech courses, which are approved by AICT at IIT Hyderabad to create startups and entrepreneurs. A project on informal capacity building and upgradation is also coming up. We have already initiated to set up 30 recycling clusters. And there are many more initiatives. We have awareness programs going on. So together, I think we can, along with all the stakeholders, the industries, the recyclers, the manufacturers, the academic institutions, and the consumers together, we need to look at the conscious circular economy and how to make it a success. I would like to thank the MRAI team and its members for their contribution in the circular economy mission of the Government of India, and wish you all the best for this all the other sessions. Thank you.
Thank you, madam. Now I'll be introducing my eminent panelists. I have Dr. Ashok Kumar, Vice Chairman, Green Space Eco Management. We have Sri Anand Kumar, Joint Director, Center Pollution Control Board, joined through online. We have also Dr. Ajay Kausal, a very young scientist from Center for Materials and Electronic Technology, Government of India. He's a pioneer in developing lithium-ion battery technology in India. Also, we have Guha Jayaram, Managing Director, Terranova Eco Management Private Limited. He's a qualified chemical engineer and also postgraduate diploma in marketing. And he's been in this space for e-waste recycling since 2003. He has, a pioneer in creating e-waste facility in India as well as abroad. Also, I have with us Mr. Praveen Bhargav, founder and director of Pegasus Waste Management Private Limited. He's a postgraduate in chemistry and environmental science. He has over 36 years of experience in environment and waste management, and including 20 years. So first, I'll be interested to ask Dr. I know, I've already introduced. Yes, Mr. Anand Kumar has joined online. Anand Kumar ji, can I see you on the screen. Hello, Anand Kumar ji. Good morning. Dr. Ashok Kumar ji, first question to you, sir. You are a pioneer in white goods space in recycling. Sir, with your actually veteran in, expertise in recycling white goods, what is your, you are doing the downstream integration to improve the recycling efficiency? This is your first question, sir.
Respected Naresh Pal Gagwat ji, and I'm thankful to Mr. Sanjay Mehta, who has organized world-class recycling conference as well as expo. I would say one thing, that for us, the recyclers, our parent ministry is MOEF, and we are always grateful to MOEF and CPCB for giving us all the listenings which we can bring it to them, whatever the problems coming for. The MOEF has brought the new rules as stated by respected Naresh Palji. Collection to metals, and you will be happy to hear that since 22 the total 315 recyclers have been on the board, and the trading platform is working very efficiently now, and the 92% of the achievement has been carried out for year 23-24, and we are in 24-25, about 61% of the metals has been recovered, but there are certain producers' problem which is going on, and which we have brought it to the notice of MOEF. This is an opportunity for us to bring certain problems and certain positives which the MOEF has done for us. As you know that we have 3.2 million tons of electronic waste, and the roadmap for Viksit Bharat has to be now decided, because we will be crossing 32 million tons of e-waste by the time we reach 2047. So we need recyclers, we need blessings of the MOEF so that the metal is recovered in India. And there may be a shortage of material which is causing a lot of problem to our recyclers. Particularly in the consumer durables, we are facing that the consumer, when gives the material, by the time it reaches to the recycler, at least 30% material is taken out by the agencies which are involved in collection and disposal till the time recycler gets. So this problem, I think the ministry is looking into it, and we request the ministry to see that we get directly material from the consumers to the recyclers. Yeah. So these are the few issues which we wanted to bring it to the notice of the MOEF, and we have been interacting on various meetings has happened, and this problem has already been brought. So this is what we wanted as a recyclers fraternity. Thank you very much, sir. And we need some sort of viability gap from the Ministry of Electronics and IT, which is very important, ma'am, so that all recyclers can be little bit profitable and have better recycling facilities and advanced technologies. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Now I'll be requesting Mr. Anand Kumar, he's joined online and he's to attend another meeting. Anand ji, can you just share your experience of having the EPR regulation for so many years? Can you address this to us, the gathering?
Sir, your voice is not audible, sir.
Hello? Now it is
Hello?
audible?
Dr. Chatterjee.
Now it is audible?
Lot of noise is there.
Hello? Now it is audible?
Yes. Yes, better. It's better now, sir.
Can you give your initial remark of your experience for so many years you are
Okay, sir.
regulating EPR in the country, and it is streamlined the entire waste stream for a formal sector, sir. Your initial remark.
Definitely, sir. Okay. Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir. Uh, Before starting my remark, sir, I would like to thank MRAI for giving me the honor, this honor for participating in this international conference. So thank you, MRAI. And I must congratulate MRAI and its president, Sri Sanjay Mehta ji, for organizing this international 12th international workshop on recycling. And in my initial remark, I would like to say that I have seen the e-waste regulation, how it has been evolved, and in the past, in fact, I was a part of the team which had drafted the initial 2011 rules, where a concept of EPR was just introduced. There was no target given, just that it was mentioned that all the producers who are placing the goods, 21 types of electronic items placing on the market, they need to take authorization from the state boards. So that was the initial, that was the start of the journey of this EPR regime in the country. Then and that was the time when we started registering the recyclers and dismantlers. There was no, we were granting registrations through state boards to the dismantlers and recyclers of e-waste, and that was a very nascent stage. We were just starting the e-waste journey in 2011. Then we saw that in 2016, the 2016 rules came out with a, a process-based system. We have a registration for producers from a state board, and the recyclers were given authorization from the state, registration of producers from the central board, and the registration to recyclers from the state board. And in this 2016, we improvised our EPR regime, and the collection targets were given to the producers. And these collection targets based on the generation as well as on the sale. Now we are in a stage where we have 2022 rules, a very robust portal-based rule, where the EPR portal is there. We are registering all the entities like producer, recycler, refurbisher, and manufacturers. All these entities have to register. No one can operate without registration on the portal. That was the rule says. And the definition of recyclers were also, made. They have to produce end products, the precious metal. They have to recover the precious metals and other recoverable metals. But still in our country, we are seeing that informal sector is present, and our policy is that the present policy is for making them, becoming them from informal to formal, because no one can do the business without registration or without being part of the registered entities. So I believe that I'm seeing that this transformation. I'm seeing this transformation, how it is happening. I have seen that many of the informal people, they have become aggregator for the registered entities. Many of the recyclers have several informal sectors from where they are getting their e-waste. In fact, many of the producers have also connected them with themselves, the informal people. So this is a good progress. And then we are also seeing the MIghty program, where they are giving training to the informal people, and they are also going to have this 30 around 30 units across the country, where the small clusters of recycling mainly being done by the informal sector. So I'm seeing that we have come quite ahead, and I'm very hopeful that with the present regime and with the support of all the stakeholders, we will be reaching the goal of the government, which is achieving the goal of circular economy. So this is my initial remark, Dr. Chatterjee. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Anandji. Now I'll be requesting Guhar Jairam ji for your first question. Can you throw some light on the innovative recycling technology adopted by the Terra Nova for efficient output, sir?
Okay. Thank you, everyone. Firstly, thank you, MRAI, not only for conducting a conference of this magnitude, but to bring e-waste in the forefront. The kind of, the sizes of the industry, what we see in MRI is pretty huge. And e-waste is a baby segment in terms of the size of the market. So we really thank you to bring e-waste as a priority and, bring more importance. Okay, as far as innovative technology goes, see, e-waste, I think everybody knows, is perhaps the most diverse, it's a material with the most diverse kind of components. I mean, now the reason for government to come up with the minimum list of machineries, and trust me, it may not be enough. In the coming years, maybe the list would double. So every day, every time the technology is changing, every time the technology changes, we have to change the methodology to, recycle the same. So more than being, what we did at Terra Nova is more than just trying to bring in off-the-shelf innovative technologies. We realized in the Indian market, with the kind of materials what we have to use the existing technology in an innovative manner. Why? Because for any material, you can buy off the shelf, you can buy an expensive machinery. But if something is not economically viable, or if we don't get it at the right price and we end up paying too much for the machinery, it fails. So in order to manage the recycling efficiency and the economics, we had to use a lot of novel techniques, use a lot of diverse kind of materials to cater to all kinds of waste. What we don't want to say that, we only want the high grade boards. Even the lowest of grade boards, we will be able to achieve and process the same. It's a combination of simple techniques. There is no rocket science. Metal, non-metal separation, the chemical process for the metal recovery. But the biggest strength what we have is we have the intent to try, handle all kinds of materials, even as dirty as a toner cartridge, which, most of them would not want to touch. We will be more than happy to welcome. So this is how we designed our, facility to cater to all kinds of waste, and maybe perhaps upcoming waste, which we don't know what it's going to be, how it's going to be, what will be the composition. But yeah, in terms of getting to handle a diverse material, yeah, we are right up there. And I believe, on a lighter note, e-waste facility, the function of that is similar to a toilet. You can't choose who comes into the toilet. Any material, a facility must be ready to process. And yes, on a larger scale, smelting units are all necessary. But for the Indian conditions, with manufacturing only coming into India, electronic manufacturing is not in India at a larger scale. What we have is assembly units. So with manufacturing only coming now, but we have already a lot of diverse materials. So we need a lot of smaller units, which will be able to cater a wide range of materials, concentrate, certain kinds of waste, then take it to the next segment. That's the only way to achieve. Because what we have is, if we don't do that, there'll be a lot of orphan waste. People don't want to touch keyboards because it's not economically viable. People don't want to touch cartridge. They don't want to touch, all those fiber cables because there is no value to it. So this is something we need to address. We just can't go by, what is the metal output, the high grade, low grade, how much gold. Gold is almost dying in e-waste, to be honest. So this is what we planned, and this is how we are functioning. We don't discriminate what kind of waste comes into it. And we are ready. We are ready for even more categories of waste coming into us.
Thank you, Guwajit. It's really impressive work you people are doing in indigenizing technology in industrial scale. And that will be actually attracting more entrepreneurs in the market. So commendable job. Now I'll be requesting Mr. Praveen Vargap for sharing your experience on your handling most profitable and most unprofitable, product, and especially in the discussion of viability gap fund. How are recyclers currently bridging the gap?
Yeah, actually, if you see in the e-waste recycling, mostly the profitability lies in the recovery of metals. So, with our experience of so many years, the main profitable thing in IT sector is computer and server, and in consumer electronics, it is air conditioners, because the concentration of metals are high in the air conditioner. And regarding the viability gap, if you see that most viability gap will be in IT, will be in our telephone instruments in the IT, and in consumer electronic, it will be refrigerator, because in refrigerator, lot of puff is there, which is not easy to dispose of. So for viability gap, we are upcycling the things, like we are converting plastic into dana, and then we are recovering metal up to the purification to make it a saleable item. We are recovering gold, which can be directly saleable. So these type of efforts are needed apart from the support from the government regarding the EPR charges.
Sir, I know a lot of innovation is required for the negative value item, so to make it in some profitability. Otherwise, the industry will bleed in a different shape. So this is
So
really
we are
commendable.
doing some certain R&D on the puff for making it a some byproduct or something to a saleable item.
Thank you. Now, Dr. Ajay, uh, you are leading few, recycling wing in CMAT.
Yes, sir.
I'll be interested to know, or other participants will be interested to know, CMAT is there for last almost 2 decades, developing technology. What CMAT is working to improve the recycling efficiency?
Thank you, sir. First of all, I thank MRAI for inviting, for having me here. It is such a pleasure to be here. Um, for the technology part, sir, we have been working for since 2010. We initiated PCB recycling with one of the industry uh, partner, and to see to it, what is the actual industry requirements, and we reached some certain stage. And now the upscaling is going on, in a sense, because to improve a recycling efficiency, uh, let's say in a PCB, we have multiple components, so every components have different values, and also if we mix together, so that hamper in a post processing of the recycling. If you selectively want to extract certain metal contents, if you mix it up, certain metal contents are there which will hamper. So we actually, automate the process in a sense that we depopulate the PCBs so that all the components will be automatically depopulated and it can be segregated separately. And then, selectively you can process them. And we are adding AI also into it. In that depopulation system, that is automated depopulation systems, and then upscaling we have carried out for 1 ton per day capacity, and then the new technologies also we added, like the gallium extraction from the catalytic converters, indium from the panels, you can say the LCD panels, right? So there is a liquid crystal in the LCD, and then solar panel recycling. So, and solar panel recycling, we are actually extracting silicon, but we are purifying to 5.9 purity also. So such kind of innovations we are trying to develop uh, and reach a stage. This is because we are here to help or provide some technical solution whenever required by the industry. So that's how we are progressing, sir.
We are thankful for MOFCC for creating various EPR, but sir, still there are certain issues which we would like to mention here, particularly in case of that RCM which has been introduced on metal scrap by GST Council, the same is not being extended to other waste. E-waste is also a metal waste, battery waste is also a metal waste. So this is our demand. We have sent various letters. So please push up to Ministry of the Finance for extending the RCM and 2% TDS on scrap chapter covering 83, 84 and 85. So that will bring lot of informal sector people into formal sector, because there is a limit of 40 lakhs where informal person can collect scrap and that we can pay RCM. Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Your point is well noted. We have been taking up with the Ministry of Finance Revenue about it, and we will certainly be pushing this.
Now, I'll be requesting again Guha ji to come up with your second question. For your operation doing for almost 2 decades, what skill gap you see in the industry, and what are the skilled workers you would like to have, but don't do live? Just huh?
I'll keep it short. See, skill gap in every industry is present, and especially in e-waste, because e-waste was never in academics. In fact, recycling itself is not there in academics.
Jaramji, sir has to leave for some others. So let's you have a group photo and then we can continue our session, please. Yeah. Okay.
We request
Sanjay Bhai, kindly, and BK Soni ji, please come on the stage for felicitation of Gangwar sir. सोनी जी, सोनी जी को दे दीजिए, ठीक है, नो इशू, ओके, सो thank you sir for your gracious presence. The session will continue. Delegates, please remain in the session. Thank you, sir.
As I said earlier, recycling is not there in academics. Maybe, I don't know, maybe because it's a very small subject, or so when something is not there in academics, especially in the current system of ours, naturally the skill will not be there. So whatever the training and all that happens on job. So we also got into e-waste by chance, not necessarily by choice. And we learned it. Once we learn, we just pass on. Not only in e-waste, if you see across the globe, even precious metal recovery for that matter, it is and recycling, it's primarily been a family-run business. So people who are only in that industry will know that, but no one else will know. But now, of course, with the awareness increasing and the government coming up with a lot of steps, especially in training and all that, maybe that would help. That is when we will be able to get more people who are skilled or who are even aware of this industry. Because for a long time, we trained ourselves from scratch, and we also try to train everyone else right from scratch. So it's primarily been on-job training.
Thank you, Goji. Actually, I think our ministry is taking initiative from our Ministry of Electronics and IT. We require industry leader like you to sit together and find out skill gap, and also hands-on we are struggling with. So a lot of funds are coming, but it should be channelized to the right skill that should help you people in this thing. Now,
we really appreciate that, sir. I mean, we are ready to, in whatever way possible, kind of, help with the training or what. We are open for that.
Yes. Now I'm requesting Dr. Ashok Kumar, a veteran in this industry. We have seen how transformed this electronic waste recycling industry, refurbishment industry. What do you think about the international benchmarking and standard where actually we are not doing enough. So what do you think we should do so that entire industry should grow to the next benchmarking? Dr. Kumar.
Thank you, Dr. Chatterjee. In India, there were 700 recyclers as on 1st December 22. And now we have 315 recyclers and 7,000 producers who are lined up for fulfilling their targets. And they need a global standard recycling. I will say responsible recycling. They are recyclers, but responsible recyclers, how many, I don't know. So therefore, these standards, the industry leaders in recycling had a lot of standards, and particularly in India, the R2 was quite there. And initially from 2008, 2009, most of our first 10 recyclers having R2 certification. So what was importance of the R2 or the standards? It will make you to be a responsible recycler, which is the need of the hour. The recycling is taking place, the descaling is happening, and what is happening with the hazardous material, what is happening with the non-recoverable resource is being thrown in the landfill. And therefore, it is very important that we must have better standards, whether it is BIS or R2 or some other. It is required now. And Dr. Chatterjee, it is very, very important to have standards as early as possible so that there should be a distinguish with level 1, level 2, level 3 industry in recycling, and also that who is the best in responsible recycling should also be understood by the producers so that they can carry out the business in a more responsible way. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Kumar. It's one of the important points you have touched upon. And also, I think in years to come, for the bulk consumers and the IT products users will also demand for standards, and the value of the recyclers will grow, and good work will start coming up. So India requires to see in the next level so that we are looking up for the global south. So it should not be an Indian company. So you go for a international level, you require a different standard so that you attract more this thing. Now I'll be having two more questions because already you have crossed time. Requesting Sunita madam to have one question. Because continuously country is requiring indigenous technology and different level of resource efficiency. What ministry will be doing, because already two and a half decade ministry is pushing the indigenous technology. What are the new or innovative things we will be interested to do in future decade so that it will create more help to the local industry for the machine development as well as the process development? What is your plan, madam?
So there are few technologies which have already been developed with METI support at CIMET Hyderabad, and with the industry participation for PCB recycling, extraction of some metals there, 4 metal, and for lithium-ion battery, extraction of lithium, nickel, cadmium, and also for solar panels. Now there are new materials which are required to be extracted and in an efficient way. The indigenous push is for not only extracting critical materials, but also new materials which would be now coming up for in maybe new PCBs that we would see. And also these critical materials might not be, the extraction might not be that cost effective maybe, but it is required. So we would be looking at the extraction of critical material which have been identified by the Ministry of Mines. with the METI support in an efficient way, more and more of these material. Along with it, we are also looking at developing machines which are cost effective. Earlier we were importing a machine from outside which had a capacity for smelting of 300 kgs. With the same cost, we have developed a machine under the R&D initiative which can smelt about 1 ton, which has a capacity for smelting of 1 ton. So these type of more and more machineries are required so that we can build a complete startup ecosystem which can come in. It's not only for the bigger players but also the smaller players who will be part of the complete ecosystem. That is what our impetus is. Also, we have another program which is coming up for cluster formation. So there'll be 30 clusters which will be established in various states across the country for extraction and segregation, collection, segregation, extraction of materials. And this will actually bring the informal sector also into the formal sector, and not only increasing the efficiency of the technologies which have been developed will be given at a very low, I'll say low cost or no cost, to these informal sector participants who can use it for increasing the efficiency, the productivity, looking at the health hazards also, that will also be looked at, and also generating thereby some economical value, and EPRs would be the targeted EPRs.
Thank you, Madam. This is really heartening to see that Ministry of Electronics and IT taking this call for integration of the informal sector. This is a vast, almost 2 million guys are involved in informal, and if you are giving them free technology and skilling, so this will be game changer for the country. And also EPR will be also streamlined further, and it will help the local industry as well, recycler as well. So the path-breaking things, it is a starting point. I think we have to take this forward for another decade. So to end up this session, I'll be having the last question to Praveen ji. Sir, as per the dashboard, you have some 40,000 metric tons of capacity. I'll be interested to see what are the challenge you faced in getting this material, because sometimes you are not working full feet. So the challenges every guys are facing, we are not having import or export permission, and also you cannot source from informal sectors. So what are the challenges you are facing and how you are mitigating them?
Sir, actually, main challenge in our operations are as a recycler. For last 3 years, we are working in the capacity of 40% of the installed capacity. Because of collection mechanism is very poor in the country. 80% of the collection is done by the Kabadiwala. So if we purchase material from the Kabadiwala, there is a question mark on the quality as well as the price. So the viability will not be possible if we collect from the Kabadiwala. So our company has decided to procure all the material through organized channels, including e-commerce companies and IPR from the organized producers.
Thank you, Praveen ji. Now, I think the session is open for 2 questions from the audience to our panelists. After that, I will be handed over to the next session. Already you have crossed the time. You should be very brief and precise question. Please introduce yourself, sir.
Good morning. This is Sethu Raman. I'm the CEO of a company from SAMI Consulting Group from Chennai. I had a chance to meet the Ministry of Environment, Finance and CPC during October on the circular solar economy.
Sir,
we have also signed.
It is not audible. Can you just...
Yeah. My question is that, as we all know that we are looking for an emerging technology which should be of world class, the purity which you recycle should be at par, like a virgin quality. There are technologies available in other parts of the world. I've demonstrated that during last year in Delhi. Technology from Taiwan for electronic e-waste segment, right from you name solar panel or the entire e-waste. I'm very happy to say that there are profitability in terms of what material to recycle in terms of the ROI. Ma'am, a question is that to you is, as in the case of Japan or in Taiwan, the subsidy which they give for such equipments is touching more than 60 to 80%. May I know what will be the subsidy if a person, a recycler wants to get into this equipment importing? Can you please share that to us, please?
Okay, so as I understand you correctly, it is mainly the initiatives that would be there for recyclers for manufacturing.
No, ma'am. Recycling the e-waste.
Recycling the e-waste, right.
Can I explain, madam?
Yes.
He's asking for having the foreign equipment in the country. So other countries is providing 60% subsidy. What ministry is thinking?
Yes. So ministry is in the process of actually coming out with a scheme for, although we have the PLI scheme for manufacturing of various electronics equipment and components. So till recently we had for recycling of e-waste also. Now, we are in the process of formulating a scheme which is yet to be approved regarding the equipment or refurbished equipment which can come in. It's also for setting up formalize the refurbishing here itself, and giving maybe certificate to the refurbishers. That is on the part of refurbishing. Then second is on the recycling part, where the manufacturers for recycling also recycle waste would also be given incentive, 25% maybe incentive on the capex. Another incentive that we are looking at is for the manufacturers using the secondary raw materials for manufacturing instead of the virgin material. So that also we are looking at how we can bring out corrective incentives for that. So I think your point is something that we'll have to work on, and we'll note that and come back to.
Thank you, madam.
Thank you so much.
Now will be another gentleman from back. There are 2%. So he raised hand first. Please be brief in your queries.
Yes, surely. Good morning, everybody. My name is Niranjan. I am coming from a company called Ridzi Recycling from Pune. We are in the process of setting up our e-waste recycling facility. After attending this session, the feeling that I have got is whatever governments, as Ministry of Electronics and other governments, or like Madam Verma said or Satish said, there have been a lot of efforts which government has been doing. But basically, if it has to reach to people or smaller entrepreneurs like us, there has to be some mechanism which I would request that if MRAI can take a lead into it. Because what has been happening is, we want to do something, but what the facilities available in terms of manpower, technology, or facilities, they are not known to us. And we have no, medium, or we have no facility to reach. So if MRAI can take lead. And another thing is, basically, as Guha sir was talking about manpower availability, I don't know how far it is relevant to discuss over here. But if some academic courses like ITI for e-waste recycling or recycling as a field can be thought of, that would give us not only, we can avoid on-job training, because for an entrepreneur, having set the facility, getting a required manpower of the correct stature is a problem. So this is what I wanted to say.
Thank you. MRI will be noted down.
Yes.
Your request.
So I'll just tell you, we already have some awareness these training programs with IIT Hyderabad, And with NILET, we are working out, NILET has become the university. So with them, we are, of course, we would love to work with all the associations, MRAI especially, to curate the courses and to have the formal credits, also credit courses, because we need skilling at all levels. It's not only at the segregation collection level or at extraction, but for training also. So, and we have like the MTech course at IIT Hyderabad, we would like to replicate in other institutions. And if industry contributes in those courses and they know what is relevant, I think that then it will become more worthy, and the students would be able to get jobs after they do the courses. So there is MTech, there is ITI, we are targeting polytechnics through NILET, and also BTech courses in this. So we have, we are in the process of curating the courses. In fact, we have already started it, and we'll get in touch with the MRI for this.
Thank you.
Thank
I
you
think,
so much.
And the second part for capacity.
Your interest, I have understood. It is the MRI should take the lead to have a hands-on training in the industry. So
Not only that, sir.
MRI will be taken care of that thing.
Yeah, not only that, the communication has to be, I mean, it has to, the communication has to reach out the people who are interested in setting out.
Definitely. The awareness programs also, I think, will be now expediting them. We are a little slow at that, but we'll be doing it now in full force.
Also, Madam Sunita, the requirement today for the industry is not of IITs. If it can be to a lower scale like ITIs,
Yes, so the
that would be great.
technologies which have been developed with METI support, and we now will be inviting industry also for developing the technologies. We'll be supporting industry for developing indigenous technology. So it's not only the academia or any specific R&D organizations. So we are opening our R&D scheme for inviting industry startups to develop indigenous technologies and set up their, scale it up and set up their entrepreneurship through partnership with MSMEs schemes. So all that is already slated in, so we are working on that.
I'll be concluding this session. Already you have crossed another hour. It's a very fruitful one, a fruitful discussion. Thank you, Madam. Thank you, Dr. Ashok Kumar. Thank you, Guhaji and Praveenji and Ajay. This is a very wonderful session. Now I'll be handing over to the MRI for the next announcement.
Thank you, all the distinguished panelists and the audience as well for having such a wonderful and insightful presentation as well as the discussion. Now I will request Mr. B.K. Soniji to be on the dais to felicitate our distinguished guest. Yeah. We request B.K. Soniji to do the honors to Dr. Sunita Verma, Group Coordinator, R&D Electronics, MIT, Government of India. I would request all the panelists to be stand up, please. Yeah. Next. Now I request B.K. Soniji to do the honors to Dr. Ajay Kaushal, Scientist, CMET, MIT, Government of India. Thoda peech. I would request Dr. B.K. Soniji to do the honors to Praveen Bhargava sir, Founder Director, Pegasus Waste Management India Private Limited. I request Dr. Sri B.K. Soni to do the honors to Mr. Guha Jairam, Managing Director, Terra Nova Eco Management Private Limited. Yeah. Now I request B.K. Soni sir to felicitate Sri Dr. Ashok Kumar, Vice Chairman, Green Space Eco Management Private Limited. Yeah. Now, last but not the least, more important moderator, that Dr. Sandeep Chatterjee. I would request B.K. Soniji sir to felicitate Dr. Sandeep Chatterjee. Well,
Starting the next session, we are already late. 070, market dynamics and advanced technology for material resource recovery. I'll be requesting Professor Binisha Ayatati, the Executive Director of IIWM and advisor to MRAI, she has extensive experience with global agencies like GIZ, World Bank, UNDP, UNEP, and her work has shaped the policies and innovative waste management solution in the country. Binisha ji, stage is yours. Thank you.
Before we start the next session, can I request the panelists to come to the dais? Dr. Krishnarjun P., Executive Director, E-Parisara Private Limited. Mr. Raman Sharma, Managing Director, Exigo Recycling Private Limited. Shri Surendra Kumar Gothirwal, Scientist D, METI, Government of India. Mr. Pranshu Singhal, Founder and Director, Karo Sambhav. Mr. Abhishek Rungta, Head of Sourcing Recycling Projects, Hindalco Industries Limited. Another Mr. Abhishek Agase, Co-founder and CEO, Elima. Mr. Nitin Jain, Assistant Sales Manager, Phonax Technology Private Limited. Mr. Rajesh Gupta, Managing Director, Evergreen Recycle Karo Private Limited. Thank you all and welcome to the panel. So to set the stage, I have a presentation, a 10 minutes presentation. In fact, this is like a food for thought, and this is a kind of a provocation because I know all the formal sector industry representatives are here. So I would like to, I know that this is an issue of the informal sector which is always being talked about in all circles. So I thought this would actually be a kind of a food for thought for all of our discussions, which would definitely be in the background, even when it comes to the session objective. But let's look at what the main session objective of e-waste today in MRAI's conference is. That is vision, that is India's vision for net zero and for 2070. What role does the e-waste recycling sector play in this to achieve net zero into 2070? And the other angle is what kind of role, whether it's positive or negative, which the informal sector will play in this, because this is an important cog in the wheel when it comes to e-waste management. So this is what I would be discussing about. I just have few slides. I do have 2 or 3 models in the end and lessons learned, which I would introduce so that it gives you a perspective on how we have gone ahead with this sector. So what is the linkage between net zero and Indian labor market? So we all know that for achieving net zero, the government has come out with 2 potential and significant job creation. I mean, what they feel is that these are the 2 sectors where major job creation will happen in the coming years. And that is renewable energy sector and green technology sector. Because for net zero, these are the 2 important pillars. Now, in this context, is recycling technology a green technology? What do you all feel? Some answers? Yeah. Okay. See, again, there is a slight doubt there, right? When you're talking about provided, you always have a caveat. Anybody else? How many of you think that this is a green technology? Sorry, ma'am.
Like the ecological malignancies that are imparted because of informal recycling that is happening in electronic waste. So we surely need an ecosystem which is going to be biologically driven,
Okay.
which is not going to be giving out secondary pollutants into the
Okay.
environment. And
Okay.
equally, it is going to be like cost effective. So I think that would be somewhere a greener approach.
Okay, so you are putting the blame on the informal sector. That is why it
Not
is.
informal. Yeah, of course. Informal
Okay.
recycle because they do not have a scientific approach
Okay.
of how to deal because they don't understand the nature of
Okay.
electronic waste, the
Okay.
heterogeneous nature of electronic waste.
Right. So, see, informal sectors are there in all sectors, whether it's metal recycling, whether it is even, textile. Now, I'm not talking about recycling, but textile industry. If you talk about any kind of industrial sector, you do have informal sector. But here in e-waste recycling or in any kind of recycling, it's a little more pronounced because that is a new sector. I will come to that, but otherwise, keeping the informal away, do you think recycling sector fits into, I'm not talking about just e-waste, all recycling sector fits into the green technology bracket? Yes or no? Yes. Yes? How many of you think it is yes? Yes. If it is yes, then why is it that in India, most of the recycling sector, industrial sector, is categorized as red category or orange category? Have you ever thought of that? Okay, I leave that to you. I'm not giving you an answer here, but yes. What about other sectors? There are several other sectors. There are also green category industries. There are white category industries. Have you compared your recycling technology to those sectors and then compare it and see where you stand? Have you ever done that? Okay, I leave it to you because it is you who have to decide whether you are green or you are not green and how you compare because there are benchmarks already available, right? Okay, next. So I'll come back to the market, the labor market here. Now, newer jobs are there because of this net zero, and there's demand in labor, in fact, in recycling technology, because in all the economic activity of the country, you require recycling technology. If we have to go net zero without your sector, that is the importance of your sector. Without your sector, no other sectors can move when we really have to achieve this net zero. That's the importance of your sector, which most of the time you are not realizing. You are like the Jambavants. I mean, you are like the Hanumans. You need a Jambavant to tell you that what you are. Because the next one, potential displacement of workers from conventional sectors like mining, because we are shifting away. If we have to reach net zero, you're shifting away from the conventional sectors, which means there will be a lot of displacement of labor. Now, some of you were mentioning that there is a labor issue in your sector. Now, this would be a potential school or a group of people whom you can actually avail. But of course, there are a lot of skilling which needs to be done. Now, this will also create a lot of informal sector economy because they will have to get into some kind of economic activity. And whenever there is this kind of a turmoil in the labor market, when there are shifts, you find that that is when you have an increase in the informal nature of activity. So that is another thing which you have to keep in mind. Now, if you look at recycling technology, again coming back to whether you're green or not, if you look at the boom of the rooftop solar PV, because now India has been really going ahead with it, and then you see that the panel recycling, the solar panel recycling, you are getting a lot of informal sector because this is a demand for new kind of activity, economic activity which is happening. So these were some of the thoughts. So what we need is a clear planning which was established even in our previous session, and effective implementation of regulations, and which can definitely help in reducing this informal economy which will come up. Of course, now let us look at what this informal, because we are usually thinking about informal sector means it's only in the global south. But I want to bring to your notice that this is not just in the global south, and what is the status of it. When you look at the ILO report, there is a report called Transition from the Informal to the Formal Economy, Theory of Changes. It's a very important report, very well made, and which gives a lot of benchmarks. If you look at this, 6 workers among 10 and 8 enterprises among 10 of the world operate in the informal economy, and this is in the world. And it is not diminished over time. It has only been increasing. Because if you look at the statistics, informal economy across the world is only increasing. We are saying there is a lot of technology, we are talking about corporatization, everything, but across the world, the trend is that as the economy is booming, you will see informal sector also booming. And so there should be a concerted effort to actually look at this sector. Now, more prevalent in the developing countries, of course, and women, all of us know, are the vulnerable group in this sector, in the informal sector. Now, if you look at the mapping of the world's informal workforce, you can see this. There are certain places there is a little skewed data, especially if you look at China. They say that the informal sector in China is also as similar to what is there in India. India, of course, is 88%. We are not in the last category, but of course, we are not very good. So China, the data that has been given and the kind of benchmarking which they do for informal sector is a little different. So the data actually shifts from that side to this side. Of course, what is informal is also very important to understand, because we think that informal sector is only an enterprise which is informal, where they don't have any licenses, where they don't pay taxes, where technology intervention is not there. That's the usual understanding. But when you talk about there is also another thing which is informal workers, and these informal workers are also there in formal setups. That is again important, because if you apply the ILO standards and the benchmarks, what you realize is that many a times most of the formal sector also have these kind of informal workers, because you have contract. So this is, if you are applying theoretically all the aspects what is there given in the ILO criteria. So because most of you have contract laborers, and these contract laborers, as per the law of India, it will be okay. But then if you look at how they have been treated, what kind of wages, what kind of disparity is there in their health systems, that is where you can really find out that that is an informal nature. So with these preamble, I would just draw your attention on what is that benchmarking, how this has been established. I'm not going into details of this. It looks very complicated, but it is actually very simple. It is only those three aspects which are looked at: the health aspect, the wage aspect, and the working condition. So, and then you have the impacts, and that is how it is being measured. And all this is linked to the SDG goals. Why it is important for the government to actually look at this informal sector is because of the SDG goals again. One of you mentioned about the impacts and all that. It is very important for us to bring the informal sector to formalized ways and bring it to the benchmarks of the ILO standards for formalization, because unless that is there, all our 17 SDGs, if not 17, at least maybe 10 to 11 of them gets affected. And when we bring in statistics and put it up in front of the world, then we lag behind because of this sector. Now, let me now go to the models. There were 3 lessons learned from the projects which I was directly involved. In fact, it was conceived by me. This started off in 2004, and we realized that this was a GIZ project which was there, and at that time it was GTZ, the formalization of the informal sector. And what we realized, I'm not going into the details of that. So 3 pilot projects we did. The success shows that 65 other informal sectors became formalized. So on its own after this project, because we had clear documentation, DPR preparation, we had awareness creation. So we had all those processes which we undertook, and this was in Bangalore. Now the success, legal compliances has been achieved from all these formalizations. So they have the Karnataka State Pollution Control Board, CFE, CFO, they have, they adhere to the GST norms, so taxation. So all the legal aspects, what is required, it has come in. But environmental impact wise also, practice of burning completely stopped. Whereas failure, what is the failure that was there was extraction of precious metals using acid leaching continued. And documentation was poor, no proper records maintained even today. Work culture, safe working conditions and paid time off and these kind of aspects were also not there. The second case study, Bangalore Crystal Project, this was actually made to address the issue of the precious metal extraction. This was done with Umicore of Belgium, where we wanted them to stop this process of leaching, and then we had an intermediary, which is the E-Parisara, a formal sector, and this crystal project was executed with them. And here again the success was extraction stopped and it was all exported and done in a formal way. Weakness was informal sector requires upfront payment. So when the project stopped, the whole thing collapsed. And the second one was cherry picking by the formal precious metal extracting. So even now there are some units in India itself, but this is an issue, so there is a problem with this kind of a system. Now, the only circular economy park actually will bring this solution, because all these aspects, the cherry picking can actually be stopped if we have a proper exchange of waste. Now, the third lessons learned, because documentation was an issue, I have now started a new project in Bangalore with the help of universities, where the students go to these informal sector and help them in documentation. This has several benefits, because it will not only help them to get into proper documentation, but we also will have clear data of these formalized informal sector and the informal sector. So this is what I wanted to bring to your notice regarding how we can actually formalize the informal sector. But the question remains whether to achieve this net zero, what is the kind of market forces that plays, and how do we actually achieve this with the informal sector, because we cannot do away with them. How do we actually bring them to mainstream? So that is where we need to really work on, and how formal and informal sector can actually be complementary and help in actually achieving this target. Thank you. If there are any questions, one question maybe. Otherwise, we can actually take it up during the panel discussion, because I'm also going to, because Mr. Alan Rao is not keeping well, so I would be the moderator for this session also. Okay, next, before we get into the panel, we have two more presentations. One is from Mr. Corey Dame, Executive Director of SERI. So can I request Mr. Dame to come to this dais, and let's hear from him. The topic is Global Best Practices and R2 Standards for Environmentally and Socially Responsible Handling of E-Waste. Over to you.
Hello, and good afternoon now. We just passed the noon mark. So thank you for having me. It's a pleasure to be here. It's a pleasure to be able to talk to you about the global sustainability. I have the privilege of coming to work every day and working on the topic of electronic sustainability. It's a journey that we are all a part of, and I want to thank each and every one of you, because we all have a role to play in this. It is a global effort, and I think together we can get there. Let me tell you a little bit about SERI. So SERI is a nonprofit. We are a charitable nonprofit. We don't have any members. We're not a trade association. We work every day to champion and drive the sustainable use, reuse, and recycling of electronics globally. We do that through a number of programs, and today I'll be talking about the R2 program. But let me take you on this journey of where we're at today, where we're going, and how we get there. How do we accelerate this journey? So think about it. We talk about e-waste. What is e-waste? E-waste is the output of a linear economy. It's the output of we make things, we use them, and we have to get rid of them. And there's no thought in that process of what we're going to do in the beginning to what happens at the end of that life cycle. And so this is all about pollution prevention, right? We're just trying to make sure that all that those old electronics coming out don't pollute the earth. The problem is we keep generating more electronics. We each have more electronics in our life, and we're turning them over at a much faster pace. And quite honestly, we can't keep up. You know, it's this boulder that we keep pushing up this mountain, and it keeps getting bigger, and the mountain keeps getting steeper. So what do? So of course, we introduce recycling, right? We can reclaim those materials, and this is good. The challenge with recycling as it is today is that it depends on the market. We recycle it, we try to get as much residual value out of those electronics that are being disposed of. But the problem is it doesn't quite align with circular. A circular economy has no waste. So the goal has got to be more than just recycling. The goal has got to be preserving our natural resources, because that's what we're really talking about. Why do we recycle? Because we are trying to minimize the amount of natural resources that we're depleting. So if we can change that trajectory to be about we must recycle it, not that we will recycle it if it has value, that is how we get on this circular path. But over my years, I've learned it's not enough. Because recovering materials at the end of life is good, but what we've learned is that when we talk about a different lens, when we talk about climate change, the impact of electronics is actually in the manufacturing of a new device. Up to 80% of an electronic's carbon footprint is in manufacturing that replacement. So to get to sustainability, to a world where we can have all this great technology without the harmful impacts that it's causing, we have to introduce reuse. We have to keep products in use longer. That is the key to sustainability. Use products as long as we can, get the full utility out of them, and then at their true end of life, recover all the materials from those products and put it into the next thing. And it doesn't need to go back into another electronic, it can go into other products. But this is how we have to get to a sustainable world. So how do we get there? How do we accelerate this process? Well, we got to think about systems level change. And how do we drive systems level change? In conjunction with regulations, standards are a great way to drive systems level change. And why standards? Well, because regulations are the hammer, I guess, and standards are more the carrot. They're aspirational. They're what we want to get to. And standards can transcend boundaries. They transcend states. They transcend national regulations. They unite the world in the same cause. So we did not develop the R2 standard. The United States Environmental Protection Agency actually developed the R2 standard starting way back in 2005. SERI took over after it was published, and we continue to shepherd this standard through 2 more iterations, and this year will be the 3rd iteration that will be started of the R2 standard. So what does it do? Why standards? Well, we need to ensure everyone's legally compliant. We always talk about environmentally sound management, and however you want to address environmentally sound management, standards are a great way to make sure that we're all working off the same sheet of music. This is about formalizing the process, right? And everybody following the same standard. There we go. But what's the problem with standards? Standards don't ensure adoption, right? So the next stage is, how do we create accountability? How do we make sure the standards are really implemented and followed? And that's where certification comes in. How many of you talk to a recycler, a competitor, does anybody tell you that they do it wrong? Does anybody say, hey, I'm doing it wrong, don't look at me? No, everybody's going to tell you they do it right. The question is, how do you know? How can you judge whether somebody is actually doing it well? And when we talk about this recycling process, this reuse of electronics, there's many different things that we want to make sure are done right. We, first of all, want to make sure it's legal. What is circular? If we just recycle what can be recycled and dispose of the rest, or the things that cost money, is that truly circular again? If we recycle something that still has use value, is that circular? And so standards like R2 set up this ability to know that we are the companies that are certified are doing it well. So through the years, you can see this is the growth of the R2 certification program. Now in I think we're in 47 as of today, but around 1,245 facilities around the world. And here's the interesting thing. 72% of those facilities don't just recycle. They're refurbishers as well. They're putting reusable products back into the market. So all that sounds wonderful, right? But none of it matters unless you can build commitment. Where's the demand for certification? And it's this commitment that is so important to driving change at a systems level. So let me share some of the ways others around the world rely on the R2 standard and the certification program. From a regulatory standpoint, I always use the case of Canada. Canada had their own standard. In 2014, they said, we're doing similar things, let's adopt a global standard, and they adopted R2. So they have an EPR framework that is in legislation, or regulation, right, that sets up the system for the producers to pay for recycling. And then they require all of their recyclers to be R2 certified. Why is that important? Well, first of all, it's about the EPR framework sets up the financing, the volume of electronics being recycled, but it doesn't ensure the quality of how it's done. And secondly, it's about fairness. You know, you see this here in India, right? We have informal sector, we have formal recyclers, and then we have R2 certified recyclers, all operating potentially at a different level. You know, how do we know? And this is where standards come in and can unify that to make sure that it's a level playing field. Everybody is operating at the same level of care that is desired. Other ways the standard is used, even in procurement, when organizations, governments put in place sustainable procurement policies, they usually use standards like EPEAT or TCO, and these standards actually bring in those products, those laptops that they're procuring, have to have an end-of-life plan. And usually those, within those standards, they require something like R2 or other standards that are similar. So I want you to think this is not just about recycling. This starts in the entire electronics value chain. From the point of use of that electronic all the way to end of life, it is about returns. It is about trade-ins. It's about ITAD. It's about upgrades. It's all these things, all these steps in that process, all the way to the end of life recycling. And let me leave you with 2 more slides here. When you think about the customers out there, you know, we've built this maturity model to think about customers. At the very bottom, you have the customers who have stuff they just want to get rid of. Just do something with it, you know, and they're looking for that free option, that local guy who will just come and take it. And over time, then they realize, well, wait, some of this stuff has value to it. I want to get some money. So pay me for it. You know, I'm looking for who can give me the most return. And as they get more mature and more savvy, then they realize, well, wait a minute, what about the data? Am I legally compliant? Am I going to be sued because, or is the government going to come for a data breach? If you look up Morgan Stanley, if you want to read about this, legal compliance and data breaches. But even beyond that, the more mature organizations actually have IT asset management, and they're looking at, how do I protect my brand? They understand that one of those data breaches or my old IT equipment ending up in the wrong place is going to damage my reputation, and it's going to damage my trust with my customers. So they're out to protect their brand. And at the very pinnacle of all this, you have the organizations who are understanding that their old IT equipment is not how they make money. And so they're not taking the highest dollar, auctioning it off, and just trying to get the most money. They're using that old IT equipment to do good, to do social good, through donations, to protect, you do good through environmental impacts, and keeping that product moving through the channel. So all this to say, if you want to operate at the bottom of this pyramid, you're going to be fighting everyone on price. And everyone is just cutthroat, you know, on trying to do business on price. If you want to get up the value chain and you want to get access to better electronics, better equipment, you know, you have to be focused more on the strategic side at the top of this pyramid. You have to be looking at protecting your customer's brand. And that's what these big organizations are looking for, these global international organizations. They're looking for partners who can protect their brand. And that's where R2 certification plays, right? R2 certified facilities are at the higher echelons building those long-term strategic relationships because they can demonstrate that they're doing it right. So, moving out of this, I want to make sure you're aware, the R2 standard is free. If you never get certified, just go to our website, download it, read it, look at the best practices. You know, it's free to everyone, as well as free resources. We have free webinars, free trainings, free videos, everything there. This is a way to create market differentiation, and it's a way to become qualified for those new international opportunities, those new sources of better equipment. So thanks, everyone. I appreciate the time, and have a great rest of the conference.
It's actually very heartening to hear that, you know, even if you don't want to do certification, you can actually do a self-audit with by actually looking at your process from your website, right? So that is definitely something which every one of you can actually take up. So thank you so much for R2 for bringing this aspect of actually doing auditing and certifying, so that you can actually have this differentiation between informal and formal. And it's even for the markets, it is actually very good because you can bring in strategic alliances. Yeah, now for the next presentation, can I call upon Mr. Nitin Jain, Assistant Sales Manager, Phonax Technology Private Limited. So he will be speaking on an effective and robust e-waste recycling plant to streamline processing operations. Over to you.
Well, good afternoon all. And thank you MRAI for giving us the opportunity to present on the e-waste recycling. So as we all here already knows that what is the e-waste. So e-waste is an electronic waste that generally being generated, which is being after they're discarded, which is not in use. So that is the e-waste that we generally generate. And the e-waste recycling is basically a process to extract the precious metal and the material which can be used for the new product development. So this could be done by the various applications or by the different processes. One of them is the shredding processes. So by that we can do it effectively and in a good manner. So the e-waste recycling process which is to be done, it has to be basically need a good equipment and the reliable process. Based on that we can recover the material efficiently. So as we all know, we have already discussed in the last two presentations, the informal e-waste recycling is the practice which is being going on since long in our country and in the world level. So few of them are the burning of the material and by extracting it through the acid bleaching and all those processes. So these are the informal processes which are already being catered by the industries due to the lacking of the e-waste recycling process which has to be incorporated in their system. So the ongoing trend also shows that the waste that we are generating it in right now, it has a good integration and a good CAGR of up to 14%, which is going to be increased in upcoming years. So as in the previous session, we have understood with one of our session and the panelists that the waste which is getting generated in our country is on the very high scale. It is up to the billions which is going to be generated. So now the CPCB has also incorporated their guidelines for installing the e-waste processing based on the capacity of the equipment which is being installed in the recyclers. So they have listed down few of the equipments which are in line should be there for the e-waste recycling. So few of them are like shredding system should be there, then the separation systems, eddy current separators, and then the chemical processes to bifurcate the precious metal from the e-waste recycling. So as a Phonax representative, we have been working on this application since long now, and we are happy to say that we are doing a prestigious project of Adani Group as well for one of their upcoming projects in Mundra for the e-waste recycling for the PCBs. So this is a general tentative layout that we would like to discuss with the team over here, that the e-waste is an application where, depending upon the input material, because we have almost 7 categories in the e-waste recycling, and comprising it there are almost 106 line of items. So it requires different stages of the shredding and the separation systems to have a good effective recovery of the metal and the parts which are going to be sellable. So just to give you a brief idea, the first should be the primary shredder, which do the rough shred of the material in the size range of 2 inch to 6 inch, that is 50 to 150 mm. Then comes the secondary shredder, which generally does the size reduction of up to 1 inch, that is 25 to 30 mm. And then there is a granulation system should be there, which gives the size reduction of up to 5 mm. And in the fourth stage, there is a pulverizer or a hammer mill, which can further do the size reduction of up to 1 to 2 mm. Then after, there should be a separation systems like the gravity separators are there, classifiers, eddy current separators. So by that, we can differentiate the metal matrix and the plastic and resin matrix and get recover of the equipment or final products precisely. So as a Fornex, we are into this industry since now 13 years, and we have been working in multiple applications for the recycling industries. So one of them we have started up with is the tire recycling, in which we have a 90% market share in India. Other than that, we are also into the process of e-waste, cable, metal industry, and the municipal solid waste. So our expertise is majorly in the heavy and the robust machinery manufacturing, and we are completely an indigenous company. And we are working in totality for mostly on the R&D development processes for the new product development for the upcoming applications like e-waste as well. And we have been following the global standards in manufacturing our equipment, so we are CE certified and ISO certified as well. And we have a complete after-sales service support system to cater for this e-waste recycling processes as well. So these are few of our credentials which we have been honored with recently with the Best Brand Award in 2024 by the ET Now. And in the tire recycling as well, we have been awarded as a Best Tire Recycler as a recycling industry. So thank you and have a good day.
Thank you, Mr. Nitin, for finishing your talk before time. Now let's open the panel here, and what I would request all of you to do would be in the first round, while I ask you the questions, you could also introduce yourself, because that's much better than me introducing you. But please keep it as brief as possible, because I know most of you are well known to many of the delegates here. And so what we would do is just to, mainly let's talk about what is the message that you have to give to the delegates. So we will stick to that. Now, first let me start with Dr. Krishnarjun. E-Parisara is actually the first formal e-waste recycling industry in India. I was also associated in setting up this industry. So it has come a long way. In fact, I would like to hear from you, mainly because I know that you have been able to crack this myth that formal recyclers are not getting enough material. And you were successful because you forged a association with the informal sector. So that was one thing. But has it been sustainable? How is the journey? Are you still able to source the material and because that's the most important aspect of any recycler. So what's your take on that?
Good afternoon. Firstly, a big thanks to MRAI for putting up the good conference. Special thanks to Sanjay ji and Pramod ji. I'll keep it short and answer the question due to lack of time. Now, when it comes to sourcing of e-waste, yes, madam, there are challenges with respect to both formal as well as informal sector in our experience. Now, sourcing e-waste is not a challenge. Sourcing e-waste at the right price is the challenge over there. Now, we are a bootstrapped, family-owned profit company. So, when we approach a producer or an OEM for channeling their e-waste for us, usually how it happens is they audit us. It's a stringent audit in terms of compliance, EHS aspects, labor, almost everything. And post the audit, some OEMs pass us on to an auction house. So after all the work is done, we are passed on to an auction house where the e-bidding happens. And we know for a fact that the same OEM operating in a different country is paying and disposing their e-waste, whereas in India, they are auctioning it out. So yes, not everyone are the same way. Each company operates in a different way. We are incredibly fortunate to have some of the OEMs we onboarded almost close to 12, 15 years back, still working with us. It's been a great relationship. Now, yes, that challenges with terms of pricing. We almost lose out most of the contracts only because of the price, not because of our services, not because of anything what we have to offer. It's usually only due to the price.
Okay.
And in terms of the sourcing from the informal sector, yes, there are quality issues, but you need to identify your suppliers. There are good suppliers, I wouldn't say good, okay, medium to good suppliers, and there are bad suppliers. For the medium to good suppliers, you offer them good payment terms and you offer them targets to collect. Such aggregators are still there in the market and we source from them as well. But yes, again, it's pricing terms and they also need capital to work.
Yeah, but you have actually MOUs with big players like Infosys and some of the electronic industries. So do you still face the problem of auctioning? Because when you have an MOU, it becomes easy, isn't it?
MOU, yes, madam. With respect to the bulk consumer that you mentioned, again, we lost it out on pricing. That was close to 4-5 years ago.
Okay.
There are people who will offer more rates and all that, but then again, it's really hard to maintain stringent compliance and take care of all the employees and offer a better price for e-waste again. So, as I said, we lose out mostly on the pricing aspect only.
Okay. So let's go to Mr. Raman Sharma. I know you have done extensive work with informal sector. You know them in and out. You have actually seen how they work. So has that helped you to, help in this pricing issues? What is your USP? Because you have learned how they are, and so maybe you've been able to overcome.
Good afternoon, and thank you for that question. Having spent some considerable amount of time in the informal sector, I think there have been a lot of takeaways, learnings, but the most important one is that we call them the unorganized sector, but the truth is...
That's a misnomer.
Exactly, but the truth is that they are much more organized. There is a great degree of specialization involved, and this misconception that we can introduce technology and all of a sudden bring viability to the formalized sector, that's purely a misconception. That isn't the case. Because of the micro scale at which the informal sector operates, it's almost impossible to use technology to bring viability to the formal sector. Now, having said that, what is the option that is left to bring viability to the formal sector? That's a question for regulators. That's a question for producers to answer, not for the recycler. We are busy doing our job despite all the challenges, despite all the viability gaps, despite all the uncertainties regarding the policies, regarding the environment. We have kept our heads down. We continue to make large investments. Some of us have made substantially large investments. A lot of us are bootstrapped, and still we are making investments. So this is, I think the ball is in the producers' court and the regulators' court. And a basic takeaway from the informal sector is that there is a considerable viability gap. That viability gap has to be addressed. The recyclers are definitely contributing to the preservation of the environment. If we are busy channelizing the waste from the informal sector to the formal sector, and we are trying to ensure there is some degree of environmental conservation and environment protection that takes place in our operations, then definitely there needs to be an incentive for us.
Yes.
So the bottom line is,
Yes.
we can't beat the informal
sector
when it
Okay.
comes to pricing, and there is no way around it.
Okay.
This can only be done through policy intervention
Yes.
and through the producers actually understanding and ensuring that they need to work towards the recycler's survival.
Right. Yes. So that question, because I like the word, the phrase that you used, ball is in the producer's court. So let me ask the question next to Mr. Surendra Kumar, because you represent the producers, because all the electronic industries. Now, you are also doing some e-waste management, you're promoting that, but primarily your work is to help the producers, one of the producers of e-waste, that is the electronic sector. So how can you help the recyclers by having certain schemes or asking them to give it to the formal sector? I mean, what is it that you do?
Thank you. So first I would like to thank MRAI for inviting me and giving opportunity to say Ministry of Electronics and IT schemes and what are our next plan we are planning in our next few years. So up to your question. So yes, you are true. This being a Ministry of Electronics and IT, we have attached our higher priority to the electronic manufacturing. But this, you see, in the last few years, this our electronic manufacturing is keep growing, and we are targeting our $1 trillion economy in next few years. So definitely, we are giving higher priority. But we know these critical minerals are, and Madam also in inaugural session that she mentioned that 30 critical minerals was identified with the Ministry of Mines. So that also that is our priority, because we have to create the supply chain for our electronic manufacturing industry. And I want to mention one recent news. Yesterday only, this our national critical mission is approved by cabinet. So they are putting this 16,000 crore of investment in this area. So they are planning for mining, and one of end of life of recycling and process technology is also one of the major vertical in this national critical mission. So you see how much priority is Government of India putting for this recycling business. So as you ask, what are the incentive or what are the schemes we have? That we have, that was our first scheme, that is SPACs. We have provided 25% of capital subsidy to the recyclers. That was our first attempt. So I'm happy to share that we have received around 1,500 crore of investment under this scheme, and we have already approved one recycling plant. I think this is around 470 crore of investment. So other also in pipeline, and they are already, I think more than 10 applications we already acknowledged, and we are dispersing the investment very soon.
Yeah,
and Madam also mentioned that we are also coming up new schemes in our country. Like the PLI we were having, so we are thinking of RLI scheme, recycling link incentive scheme in our country. So that is also our priority area, being a Ministry of Electronics and IT.
So it's fantastic actually that you are giving incentives to the recyclers for establishing better technologies. But you heard the asks from both the previous speakers, because what they are mentioning is that even if they have the best technologies, when they don't get enough waste, then what is it? How can they operate? So, and this material is with the producers. So from the producer side, do you have any kind of an arm twisting so that they give the waste only to the formal recyclers? So is there some kind of a mechanism which is there?
We are not in the rules and regulation side. We are just technology and the recycling industry promotion. So as a rule, I think Ministry of MOFCC, they are doing very good job. They are making it voluntary through EPR system. They are already under the rule that they have to give their collected e-waste to the authorized recyclers. That mechanism already there. Yes, you are true. We should also initiate some scheme like PLI. We can have some scheme like if they are using secondary raw material in the manufacturing state, that can be subsidized with the Ministry of Electronics and IT schemes.
Okay.
That
yeah.
we can do, yes. This is a good solution.
Yeah, that's an encouraging thing. Yes, now let me go to the fourth panelist, Karo Sambhav. In fact, Karo Sambhav is actually an agency which has worked extensively with the community. Mr. Pranshu has been a veteran, and I know that they have actually worked in different parts of the country. So what is your experience we talk about industries, but we have also the community where a lot of e-waste is generated. So how do you think that this waste can also be channelized and brought to the formal recyclers?
Hi everyone, greetings. So one of the big challenges, and I'll go back to the rules of 2017 and then rules of 2022. One of the big changes which has happened is the focus has been completely taken away from collection systems.
Yeah.
So, and that honestly and quite sadly has changed the way things were starting to evolve. Systems, for example, were being put in terms of formalizing informal sector. We ourselves work with over 6,000 plus informal sector players, formalize them and so forth and so forth. But with this whole focus being away now from collection, and I'm not saying it is right or wrong, but the focus should not have shifted. I mean, recycling is super critical, circularity is important, but it is also important. They can only happen if collection systems work.
True, yeah.
Today, no one wants to finance collection. If you look at just simply the number of collection centers, what has happened to them? I can talk of my own system. We used to have, at the peak, we used to have almost 80 collection centers across the country, and it is down to 35, 40 now. Primarily because no producer wants to finance it anymore. And
so does EPR, sorry to interrupt, but does EPR actually apply to these collection centers?
Directly, I would say no, and not anymore. Indirectly, yes. The thing
indirectly, how?
I'll say indirectly because, at the end of the day, it focuses on recovery of metal targets, and metals can only be recovered from collected waste. The problem is the price at which the whole country is operating is completely unviable. I mean, the cost of collection, and sabhi ne ye baat boli hai, if I were to hear, the cost of collection is just very high. And that cost of collection is not because if I were to, we have done a lot of comparisons between Indian collection systems or let's say emerging market collection systems with European collection systems. And the biggest cost for us is the cost of procurement. This cost is absent in any other collection system. 80 to 85% of our cost goes actually in buying the materials.
Exactly.
Now, what has happened, with this change in the rules, no one is looking, and I can talk of my company, for example, we are considering, should I even operate in Northeast? We used to have extensive collection in almost 20 cities in Northeast, and because there is no money in the system to pay for logistics, to pay for buying of this waste, we are kind of, because no brand is willing to pay anymore. Everyone is saying, jitne saste mein kar sakte ho, utna saste mein karo. So with that thought process, and lack of focus on collection, systems are, for me, we were starting to move in a positive direction, but they're in a question mark.
So where has it shifted? Has it shifted to the recyclers?
It has shifted to a very odd space, which is just the metal category, and I like to pinpoint that. So today, the only focus of everyone is, let's get these 4 metals out of waste. Aluminum, copper, gold, iron. Now, what do I do with keyboards? Last year, for example, last year, we were collecting almost 2,000 tons of keyboard from different parts of the country. This year, we are collecting 50 tons because no one is willing to pay for collection of keyboards, mouse, because this doesn't contain any metals. So, the focus of EPR essentially has always been, how do you manage toxicity of products? How do you manage materials which have low value, which will never get recycled on their own? What we have done in our country is we have completely changed the focus. We have looked at high value materials जो अपने आप ही हो जाते थे. मतलब who will say no to a copper and an iron and a gold? Everyone will like to collect it. What no one is interested in collecting is a low value plastic which is contaminated with persistent organic pollutants. A lot of those materials today have no focus whatsoever. And that's the big challenge that we are finding the whole collection system has gone in.
So what you are saying is that EPR, instead of helping the environmental impact,
it
reducing
has kind of
the
derailed
impact,
it for me.
It has in fact done the opposite.
With the present version.
With the present version.
Because the focus is only on 4 metals.
Yes.
I'm saying, as a collection, we were not into recycling earlier. We now have multiple recycling plants. Yeah. But when we were a collection organization and we were giving it to third-party recyclers, everyone was willing to take these products. Today, no one wants a product which does not contain, high amount of these 4 metals. Yeah. Everyone says no or gives such a low price that it becomes completely unviable.
Yes. Right. Okay, so with I go to the next panelist, Mr. Abhishek Rungta, head of the Hindalco Industries Limited. In fact, again, to carry over from what Pranshu was mentioning, you don't do cherry picking, right? Because you have invested 250 million USD, where you take e-waste as a whole. Or
no,
do you also?
So we haven't yet started our operations.
Okay. So what is the plan?
So plan is so our focus is mainly to use e-waste and refine it. So I think one of the biggest problem what we have in India is there is no proper refinery, especially when we are speaking even in the earlier panel. What do we do with PCB? Should we cherry pick and do refining of that particular qualities of PCB, which are like high-grade PCBs, which have good amount of gold? So the facility what we are trying to create is a pretty flexible facility where we will take different kinds of PCBs, whether it is low-grade, high-grade, and plus we are setting up a large 7-step gas control system. Okay, so that's very important so that you do it in a environmentally friendly manner. Okay. So these were the 2 things we thought that India requires, and especially the way the e-waste generation is increasing day by day in India. So as a group, we thought that it's a large opportunity where we can work with the existing industry, grow with them, support industry to grow, both through the formal and the informal channel, help to create a further improvised infrastructure to channelize the e-waste properly into a formal economy. So this is the idea about this project. And it's like, so one thing what we added is copper scrap to it. So when we visited globally, it's like to waste most of the facilities, we thought copper and e-waste flows very well in terms of having efficient recovery. So that was the idea to set up this facility. And now this facility is under the construction phase. And we should commence our operation sometime in mid of 2026.
Okay. So there's one more plant which is coming up, who would be also your competitor, or it has already come up. So do you think that there is enough waste for such huge facilities? Because already there are many other formal recyclers. So how, what do you think? Would you be sourcing it from outside the country, or what is your business plan?
So probably if there are many more facilities, if it is coming, probably initially we might require some sources from imports. Probably that would help companies to stabilize the plant, which is very much required in the initial stage. But if you speak about the opportunity in India, we are speaking about 3 to 4 million tons of e-waste getting generated in India.
Right.
And if you speak about PCB, around 2 to 3%. If we take that thing as a number, today we generate about 60,000 to 90,000 tons of PCB in India. So there is enough opportunity for people to come and set up facility and grow this industry.
Okay. And will you be able to pay upfront to the places where you're sourcing the waste from? Because that is an issue which everybody raises. So.
No, I think so. To be true, it's difficult to pay upfront because the quality changes significantly from lot to lot.
Yes.
We can have some standardization and work on a mechanism how that payment can be expedited. But whether it would be upfront, probably that would be difficult to comment at this stage.
So even if you apply the R2 standards and criteria for auditing, you still feel that would be difficult?
Yeah, so each PCB has a different content. Okay, so it's basically a
you have
issue
to do
with,
an assay.
you have to do assay analysis
and
before
then
making
only-
those payments.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
So to our next panelist, Mr. Abhishek Agase, I hear that you have some technologies with automation and AI which is being used. So has this really helped?
Well, thank you for the question. So, the way we are looking at the entire recycling space, or especially in terms of electronics, is that, look, we looked very granularly at how the informal sector operates for a very long time. And you have to give it to them that they have been able to survive for decades and decades and do it profitably without EPR, without any financial support. And that is because the fundamental unit economics of these guys is very, very clear, right? It might be decentralized and there is a compliance viability, and that compliance can come in terms of taxation, in labor, in all these things, but effectively they are running a profitable business, right? Now, you look at the consumer who's generating the e-waste, right? The material procurement happens from the same source, right? It is from you or me. So what are they offering to the customer, which we are not able to offer as a private company or as a formalized company, is cost and convenience, right? And today, as we move psychologically into the world of quick commerce and e-commerce and one-day deliveries, reverse commerce also has to evolve in terms of developing logistics and reverse logistics, which is convenient and cost effective to the end consumer, right? And that can be to B2B or B2C or whatever. So the way we are looking at technology is, technology or EPR is again not a magic pill that can solve all these problems. It is a combination of 2 or 3 things. But technology leveraged at scale has always helped in reducing cost, and that is how most of the formal industries, not only in recycling, have developed, because informal exists in every industry, right? So we are looking at technology as a lever and EPR as an equalizer, where these 2 things combined and executed very well at a very macro level will help us compete and defeat the informal sector, because with technology, physical as well as digital, you are able to generate end products, more refined products that have a higher market acceptance in higher application industries. So instead of targeting crude, low-level raw material industries, you target higher-level, high application industries. And that is how, we are looking at doing this.
But do you have enough data? Because if you have to deploy AI, it's like garbage in, garbage out. So if you have enough data, then you can actually really leverage that technology. So where have you got this data? I mean, did you work with the informal sector? Because anyway, learnings, you said you got it from them.
So we are a recycler ourselves, and me and my partners have spent more than a decade each in the industry, so we do come with a lot of data. And now, look, technology is also changing. It's AI is not just about data. What we are talking about is machine learning and deep learning, where you need extensive amounts of data.
Yeah.
Today, if you look at technology, technology has been democratized very well, and I think each and every recycler today, like earlier what used to happen, every company used to have their own servers and data rooms and things like that. Today, everything has moved on the cloud. Similarly, if you look at AI today, there is an application layer that you can build on existing data and existing LLMs, right? So that is what we are looking at when we build. So we have our internal data, and then you have access to a whole lot of foundational layers of data which are readily available and free, where you just need to build an application layer on top of that, and every recycling company can do that and do it very cost effectively, because now cost of technology has come down quite significantly.
Thank you. That's nice to hear. Mr. Nitin Jain, I know you have already made your presentation, but I just have one question for you. You have a very good technology, the machinery. However, what I have noticed over the years is that most of the recyclers, they actually source their equipment from outside the country. So why is it so? Is it that you are more expensive than what they can procure from outside? Or is it true that they, I mean, are they coming to you? How do you really find a market here in India?
Well, thank you for your question. Well, basically, I think for this answer, the recyclers are majorly been, focusing on 3 to 4 major parameters for the importing these equipments, particularly the recycling equipments from outside India. So maybe the first thing is the technology, based on the technology that they think that they are better than the Indian manufacturers. So maybe they are more reliable and more consistent for giving the output. So maybe that is the reason they are more focused on buying the equipment from them. Secondly, it could be the certification processes as well. If they are working with the international clients, maybe these equipments, if they are CE certified or UL approved, so maybe those are also the terms they may be, evaluating that these equipments are in that line or not. And the third is maybe the risk factor. They don't want to take a risk into the Indian manufacturers because they are investing heavily in, developing their e-waste recycling process. So maybe they can have a risk aversion that, okay, to be safer side, it could be better to, invest some amount more and go with the standard and the European standard machines.
Yeah, but you have a better after-sales service which you can offer, right? And yet people go abroad.
So just to bridge down this gap between the recyclers and their dependency on the international market equipments, as a Fornex company, we have robust and high development equipments. We are doing the R&D and the developments. So we have good expertise in the high volume and the high capacity equipments. So we are already doing the recycling since last 13 years for various applications. So based on that, the problems or the technology point of view, we are catering very much with the customer satisfaction level, that what are the output that they are targeting from the equipments. So based on that, we are upgrading our systems, and we are trying to narrow down that gap, that okay, the Indian manufacturers are also been there from which are reliable.
Okay.
And who can, give you the correct output, and you can fulfill your requirement purpose.
Yeah, thank you. Before I go to the last panelist, I would like all of you to actually prepare one last message or an ask, so that, after that we could take one or two questions from the audience. So going to Mr. Rajesh Gupta. He's the MD of Evergreen Recycle Karo Private Limited. I know that you have a lot of innovations, which is especially in not only in e-waste but also in batteries. So do you also have the lithium-ion battery recycling, and what is that new technology which you have come out with.
Yes. Thank you for the question. So we started with lithium-ion batteries recycling since 2020. We are not just battery crushing company. So most of the companies in India, they are just into crushing the batteries. We have a innovative hydrometallurgy unit where we use lots of acids, reactors. Basically, we refine the metals. So our end product is cobalt in the form of sulfate. We are also trying to make metal, and the metal cobalt metal unit should start soon. Apart from that, we make lithium carbonate, which is 99.5% pure, which is at par with the international standards. Our product can be compared with Korea and Japanese quality. We also make nickel sulfate. So this is what we do. We were talking about very innovative thing like involvement of unorganized players. So I just I have a thought about it. I think the recyclers today need to be more innovative. Uh, when I say innovative is we should add on we should add on value to our product and product. For example, most of the recyclers, even if it is unorganized, they are when it comes to PCB boards, they are focused on gold. Okay, but
So your technology is for decentralized or for big players?
my technology is for no. So we are not into
You are not
outsourcing
equipment
technology.
yeah,
We are
but
the recyclers ourselves.
so
We procure waste and we recycle it ourselves.
right, but is that for small quantity or is it for huge quantity? What is your capacity?
As of now, current capacity 7,500 metric ton for electronic waste, which we are already doing. But now we have already expanded it. So the current now we are running at 24,000 metric ton for e-waste, and for lithium-ion batteries 10,000 metric tons.
Okay. And did you avail the MATI's funding or support?
We are on it. I mean, we will be very interested in exploring it. And
There is
but
a
as of now,
material
we haven't taken
recovery,
it.
so that was the reason I asked you. Okay, so thank you. Now let's hear from all the panelists. One message or one ask.
I'll go for an ask. So my only ask is through the MRAI, please implement the EPR new pricing guidelines to the producers. It's really challenging right now because there are still people doing it for single-digit numbers. I don't want to name them. And quite honestly, with those single-digit numbers, it doesn't work out in any way. Even the transport of the e-waste will not work out. So I think, yeah, EPR pricing as per the new CPCB guidelines.
To add to what Dr. Krishna Arjun said, there is an information that I would like to share with all of you, that the Central Pollution Control Board on 9th of September, after a lot of consultation with all the recyclers in the country, and after repetitive requests by all the recyclers and recycling communities, fraternities, they introduced a ceiling price and a minimum floor price for the transaction of EPR certificates, either from the perspective of product or commodities, the 4 key metals that have been prescribed. Some of the producers have approached the High Court and asked the High Court for a judicial review of this particular pricing. Although this has been brought into mainstream by now, that there's a considerable viability gap, and today's theme has definitely addressed that. I think this is an established fact that if the e-waste is channelized to the informal sector and subsequently recycled by the informal recycler, there is a considerable amount of risk involved there, right? And if the waste is channelized from the informal sector back to the formal sector, to recyclers like all of us sitting here, then there is a considerable benefit to the citizens of this country. Also, there's a considerable benefit looking at the circularity aspect to the producers also. If this much is very well understood and accepted by us, then wherein lies the problem in understanding that there is a cost attached to this preservation? And I think health is the biggest asset and wealth that we can generate. And if the producers are being asked, and subsequently that cost will be loaded onto the consumers of this country, and if they are being asked to pay a small fraction, that is hardly 1%, 2% of the cost of the goods sold, then there shouldn't be any problem. I think every single stakeholder in this chain should become advocate of this particular introduction of a minimum floor price. That's all I wanted to share.
Right. Yeah. Now, instead of going to Mr. Surendra Kumar, because these are all asks and you cannot ask, so let's go to Mr. Pranshu. We come to you to give the final concluding remarks.
So, I mean, if EPR is to really drive material circularity, and which is, I think, which everyone is looking forward to, I think I'll just build on what Surendra said. Government needs to introduce use of recycled content in products at a mandatory level, and not just simple metals or base metals. It has to go to critical raw materials. That's the only way that people will be forced to set up collection system. And when I say people, I mean the whole ecosystem, to set up collection systems, because they want access to clean materials with clean secondary raw material supply chain, which requires then good facilities for recycling. So until and unless, and there is a body of work that we are now doing for many Southeast Asian countries on what is that one thing that should be implemented. And what is coming out is this one singular thing: make sure you are mandating use of secondary materials utilization at a product level.
Fantastic. Next.
Yep. So
I know you're going to start, but then you can actually make a lot of change when you are starting. So.
Yep. So I think we are just starting right now. I think so. Our vision is to use today's waste and create minerals for critical minerals for tomorrow, which can be used in end products. Where we are looking for a support from ministry, industry, and everyone to make this happen in India in a sustainable manner.
Thank you. Next, please.
Well, I think I have two asks from the government. The first ask is, look, when any policy is created, and especially in our industry where we are dependent on policy for strategy and business, and today coming and talking to a lot of investors and things like that, there is capital available for the industry, but the capital is not willing to invest because of the instability in the policy. So if you look at EPR also over the last 3 years, the policy has been constantly changed, updated, revised, portal comes in. So it's the implementation is very haphazard, where recycling companies for 1 to 2 quarters have not been able to generate revenues. So I think the stability in policy is very, very critical to drive investments into this sector, which will eventually help the whole industry. And the second ask is that the implementation of policies from the Central Pollution Control Board to the State Pollution Control Board, even when it comes to granting licenses to recyclers, is not standardized. Even though the regulation is maintained, there is a lot of ambiguity when it comes to implementation at the local level. So I think there should be a nodal agency who is only allowed to grant licenses, and the implementation agency can be the State Pollution Control Board, because that is creating a lot of, it's not keeping the playing field level across the country for many, many of the industries.
Yeah. Thank you so much. Nitin?
Well, I would like to first thank to the government that they have already been implementing the policies in the CPCBs, that the equipment which are to be recycled has a capacity, it should have a capacity of the equipment is to be defined. Based on that, the licensing is being provided to the recyclers. So that is a good initiative for even for the Indian manufacturers as well, like us, who are developing rigorously into the new development of the high capacity machines. So that will support the industry to penetrate into the e-waste recycling market as well, to cater the large volume of the e-waste which is being to be recycled. And the second thing is the reliability and the dependency on the foreign machines that we have right now for these recyclers. So it's a good platform for us as well, so that as we are growing as a company and our Shri Narendra Modi sir's vision of Made in India, so we are also, our director and our company is working on that. So it's a good initiative for us as well to penetrate into this industry and give a good solution for the e-waste recycling.
Thank you. Mr. Rajesh.
Thank you. I would like to highlight 2 points. Number one, as you all are aware, recently Government of India has come up with a import policy where critical minerals, whatever we import, there is no zero custom duty. But the same thing happened with the finished product also. So now finished product is coming into India with zero duty. So actually it is a big problem and big gap. I think that has to be seriously looked into. Otherwise, it will create a problem for what we are planning to create in India.
Yeah.
And the second thing is the GST regime has to be seriously looked into, because the unorganized sector, they are taking undue advantage of this system. I think that has to be revised and seriously looked.
Okay.
2 suggestions
Right.
from me. That's
Yeah.
all. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Before we have the last word from Meti, 2 questions, just 2 pressing questions, please. Yeah, thank you. Can you just pass the mic? I know we have run out of time, but we also started late, so.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hi, I am Arvind.
Please
from...
keep it as brief.
Yeah. So can I ask questions to Seri also?
Yeah, please. Yeah.
So,
yeah, that one-to-one you can have, but if there is something which for the panel, it would be better. Otherwise, with Seri, you can have a direct bilateral talk. Yeah. Your question is only to Seri? Okay. So, somebody else? Yeah? No questions? All are hungry. Okay. So over to you, Mr. Surendra Kumar.
Thank you. I think I have left with a lot of suggestions and questions.
I know.
demands.
You have a lot
So
of
I have
homework to do.
Yeah. So you see
work
this
to
in
do.
last 5-10 years, this our country is going very fast. And Government of India attaches this high priority to its electronic system design and manufacturing. You see our semiconductor mission, Government of India allocated 76,000 crore of this investment, and that not investment, it is our funding from Government of India that is bringing more than 5 lakh crore investment in our country. So you see, we are trying to create we are also will be coming in the developed top 4-5 countries who are developing the chips in our country. For that, we require complete supply chain. There are recycler companies or recyclers can play a very important role, because a lot of critical minerals. You see, this Ministry of Mines also working for last 2 years. What are the critical minerals for our country? Why that is we are thinking of. And you see, in last 4-5 years back, when I joined, and 10 years back, I joined ministry, that we were talking about the e-waste management. And I am happy to see in last few years, we are talking about the circularity. Everyone is talking about circular economy. Yeah. So it means that we are all aware that without this recycling, we cannot achieve our this manufacturing targets, or we cannot become a leader or global hub of manufacturing in our country. So that's why this recycling business is very important for us. That also is our highest priority, given by not for mighty, it is Government of India's highest priority. You see, our Honorable Prime Minister, every speech is talking about the circular economy, and especially for electricity sector. So this is very important, and a lot of policy initiative Government of India has taken, especially for recycling business and manufacturers also. And this critical minerals, I mentioned this mission yesterday only, that is approved by cabinet, that it will be a very big, playing big role for our promoting process recycling in our country. So a lot of initiative has been taken, and as one expert was talking about our e-waste rules and policies, some portals, that actually, you see, this is our beginning only. We have initiated in the last 1 and 2 years. Lot of challenges are there. So we require your suggestion also to improve, how we can improve our portal, and how we can see, you see, we don't have any actual data. How much material we are extracting out of this PCB. Just I was talking to Raman also, that we are talking about the AI. AI in the e-waste recycling. How some, I also talking with Deepali when she came to our office that she is working on one project on AI base, said how we can identify what are the materials are there in the PCB that can be easily identified. So there are some initiative we are talking with your suggestion only, and I'm also helpful to MRI team. Every time I think they are coming to ministry and they are giving their suggestions. Because of them only we are talking about this recent our initiatives like our recent we have come up with SPAC scheme that is also MRI suggestion. We have got a few years back, and now recently BK Soni sir also given some suggestion on new scheme on RLI. So a lot of things we are getting to, only through MRI only.
Thank
so
you.
this is a good suggestion, and we are keep growing on, and this is our highest priority that I want to say here.
Thank you so much. In fact, it was really good. We had 8 panelists, but all of them had different perspectives, diverse perspectives. So I enjoyed being a moderator here, even though it was a last minute request. I hope all of you also enjoyed, and I'm sure we are standing in between your lunch. So thank you very much. And I hope MRAI will take all your asks, compile it, and that would be the takeaway from this session. Thank you so much. Yeah. May I request Mr. Kohli to do the honors of
Thank you everyone for such an informative session. Srimati Sunita Madam ji, thank you so much. And VP Yadav sir, thank you for gracing the event. Surinder Gotrwal ji, I would also like to thank though Gangwar sir just left some time back. I would like to thank him. आप लोगों के आने से ना सर, जैसे MOEF के, CPCB के, MIT के आने से हम लोगों को मोटिवेशन आता है. इतने इंडस्ट्रियलिस्ट आए हैं कमरे में, you know, I really feel motivated when we have such live, healthy interactions with the government. And we genuinely thank all of you to that you know, you guys are very supportive now. The government is supporting the sector, recycling sector. We really appreciate. I would also like to thank all the panelists, our distinguished panelists. You know, we had such rich discussions on various topics for e-waste. Thank you, Dr. Sandeep Chatterjee, for moderating the previous session. Ashok ji, Dr. Ajay Kaushal ji, thank you, Mr. Guha. Thank you, Parveen Bhargav ji, ALN Rao ji. He was not here, but we actually missed him. Thank you, Mr. Krishna from eParisara for such valuable insights today. Raman bhai, you're always full of good ideas. Actually, I would also like to reiterate what Raman Sharma said. So from MRAI, this is since many of our recycler friends are here, we would like to tell you that as per this notification that Raman had mentioned, dated 9th September 2024, there is a minimum price and a maximum price. If any recycler or producer is working beyond that gap, it is a punishable offense. That's what the rule says. I'm sure you all are, intelligent businessmen, and you would all have gone through the notification legally, but let's be careful of not, let's abide by the law. That's what I would like to say. And thank you, Pranshu ji, Abhishek Rungta ji, Mr. Abhishek Agashe, Mr. Nitin Jain, Mr. Rajesh Gupta. Thank you so much. I would now like to request BK Soni ji to please felicitate Mr. Surinder Gotrwal. I would request Ma'am Sunita Verma ji to please come and felicitate our esteemed panelists on the stage, please. Mr. Pranshu Singhal, Ma'am, request you to please felicitate Mr. Pranshu Singhal. Mr. Raman Sharma. Mr. Krishna from E-Parisara. After the felicitation, Mr. Abhishek Rumta. Mr. Abhishek Agashe. I request you to felicitate Mr. Nitin Jain. Mr. Rajesh Gupta. Also, I would request you to felicitate our moderator, Ms. Binisha ji.